Thanks, Hazel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We started a week ago with 18 of the very best snooker players in the world. Now there are just 2. Both guys backstage know exactly what it takes to lift this prestigious Masters trophy. But which one will reign supreme today? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to find out. Let's get the boys on the bays. Please welcome one of the most colourful characters in the game. He beat 2-time world champion John Higgins in his semi-final yesterday. Last season he won the Welsh Open as well as the Masters here at Wembley. With his very own brand of juicy snooker, here comes the defending champion, the jester from Leicester, Mark Selby.
Best Mark.
And his opponent, a man who is quite simply a genius with a cue in his hand, beating a resurgent Stephen Maguire in the semi-final yesterday, bidding for a 4th Masters title here at Wembley. The reigning world champion and world #1, blink and you'll miss him, it's the Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Here we go then. This final is the best of 19 frames. 8 to play this afternoon. And taking the first stint in the commentary box for us are John Parrott and Dennis Taylor. Gentlemen, good afternoon. You get the feeling that neither of these men will feel intimidated by the other. And that, for me, is part of the appeal of this match.
Absolutely, Hazel. We're in for an absolute treat here this afternoon. First time these two great players have played in the final of the Masters.
Yeah, for the photo.
They both got a terrific reception when they arrived into the arena.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The first frame, Ronnie O'Sullivan to break. Put your cameras away now, please. Yes.
So it's Ronnie O'Sullivan then who's getting this final underway. Breaking off right-handed. He normally breaks off with his left hand. He was just checking with the referee how many frames they were playing. They're playing 8 in this afternoon's session. Should be fascinating, John.
Should be a classic, Dennis. We just we'll find a lot more out as the afternoon unfolds, but I do think this first session is very, very important. Certainly where Mark Selby's concerned. If he can get off to a good start and show Ronnie that he's playing at his best, and it's going to be very tough for him today, he'll stand much more of a chance.
Oh, that's a nice nudge. The jester from Leicester, when he came into the arena, well, with Rob Walker, our MC, they're going to have to put a bit of practice in with that handshake, John. Well, there's the total points. There's only 10 points separating these players. Now that is very close indeed, quite incredible really. And let's have a look at the safety success rate, both in the 80s, so that's fairly close. Mark Selby just slightly ahead. And look at that, both players in the 90s, 92 to Mark, 93 to Ronnie. And there's not a lot of difference in their highest break as well. So that tells you how close it could be. Is that going to be the case?
Well, that little nudge on the green that we mentioned, Dennis, has become pretty handy for Mark Selby. Ronnie's escape from the snooker there just clipped the red and has set it up for the corner pocket, so no problem for Mark Selby to knock this in.
One.
Just overscrewed that slightly, but lots of interested spectators. But there's Vicky, Mark's girlfriend. A nice little smile. Thank you, Vicky. It's going to be a fascinating day for everyone here at the Wembley Arena.
Yeah, she does very well to watch, I think. I'd be a bag of nerves myself, Dennis. I've had such a personal involvement, so very good that she can do that.
Yeah, it's worse for the close relatives and family and girlfriends than it is when you're out there yourself, because you're just focusing on what you've spent years learning how to do. Now this is an early risk going into the bunch with pace when potting this. Hasn't worked out. Just a little bit more pace and he would have been on the pink there.
Mark Selby 4.
It's okay that one of the toughest shots in the game, when you've got the full table, when you're near the bottom cushion, to play that shot's very difficult. This was the shot that Mark played on the yellow. Played it with a lot of topspin and just come up a little bit short. Had the white have carried on. There's Hawkeye giving you a sort of indication of where he would have finished with a little bit more pace.
I'd hate to play that Hawkeye, Dennis, wouldn't you? Never plays a bad shot.
I just hope, John, that both players continue in the final the way they've played throughout this year's Masters, because they both deserve to be there. They've played some superb snooker.
Yes, quite unusually for Mark Selby. He actually got over the line yesterday without having to go to a final frame decider. He had a 6-5 over Ricky Walden, 6-5 over Mark Allen, and then yesterday 6-2 over John Higgins. And Ronnie, well, he had a 6-5 against Joe Perry in his first match, and then after that he's been absolutely superb. 6-2 over Ali Carter, and then of course yesterday 6-1 over the world number 2 Stephen Maguire. Fabulous performance last night.
That's what Ronnie's faced with there, and it's the red, the left side of the table as you look at it. If he plays off the one just past the blue, he could cannon into the one on the left side of the table. That's why he's not attempting that particular safety shot. Double kiss is always on when you try that. And even if the red doesn't go into the left corner, he can still take the one that Ronnie cannoned into. Well, that is a possibility, but you'd need to be right behind it. I think the other one, even though it's a slightly more difficult putt, might be his choice. He's looking at this red from both ends of the table.
I always thought when you had a shot like this, though, Dennis, looking from behind the pocket really wasn't much good, was it? You know, you could stand behind the pocket and more or less make any angle you feel like, but Hawkeye reckons it's very, very tight, and it certainly is.
But Hawkeye reckons it'll go. Right again, Hawkeye.
One.
There is a possible pot into the middle pocket. It's a very difficult one. In fact, he's not even looking at it. In fact, it probably doesn't pot. He just got the extra 7 points there, so just up past the blue and brown to get close to the baulk cushion.
Mark Selby 8.
Bit careless to cannon the blue there.
Chance of a slightly more attacking safety shot from Ronnie here. Just come past the pink, hit them slightly thicker. Get the cue ball down into the baulk area. Well played.
It was mentioned earlier that Ronnie's got the better of Mark Selby in the matches played. This Hawkeye just spins around and shows you what Mark's faced with. 4 wins to 2, Ronnie leads, but their longer matches have both gone to a deciding frame. Semi-final of the UK Championship, Ronnie won that one 9-8. But in the final of the Welsh last year, Mark Selby won 9-8. So their long matches have been close. That's a clever little shot. Just holds his hand up in acknowledgement of that little bit of good fortune there.
Safety shot for Ronnie here if he can leave the cue ball somewhere near the brown. He'll certainly cover half of the table, and if it goes somewhere near the yellow as well, could be a lot of trouble for Mark Selby. That area, yellow-brown, is where you'd like to leave the cue ball.
I think he's just covered the one. Ronnie had a long, hard look. If he can get through to it, there's a possibility he could get on the black, and I think he can pot it, John.
Yes, the safety shot was a little too thin, Dennis. Did try to get that cue ball over more towards the brown, but this is a good opportunity for Mark Selby.
To stay on the black, he'd have to be so precise. Be interesting to see if he attempts that. Well, he's been rather fortunate there, because he missed the pot by a long way, and he's done well to leave things fairly safe. He could quite easily have put Ronnie right in amongst them there. You could see a little movement in the cue there when he delivered it, but rather fortunate. You can expect a little bit of tension, the opening frame of a final.
Yes, Mark himself, on the couple of occasions he's been into the studio this week, Dennis, has said that he's found it very difficult to settle down early on in the matches. Yesterday with John Higgins in his semi-final, the first session was very scrappy, but he said later on, once he knocked a few balls in the second session of that match, it was business as usual.
Mind you, don't want to let a player like this get a couple of frames ahead of you.
This is what I said earlier about the importance of this opening session. You know, against anybody you want a good start, but particularly against Ronnie O'Sullivan, because if he starts getting 2 or 3 frames ahead, it's like trying to stop a runaway train.
He studied this pot into the middle pocket. It's a difficult one. It's a risky one. He's thought for well over a minute. And it's there. The black was hampering him. He thought for a minute and 20 seconds, and he certainly made the right choice.
Deserves everything he gets off this break for that shot.
Seven. Eight.
I always say it's about focus with Ronnie, and he did look very focused as he came into the arena. Got a terrific round of applause, but he didn't acknowledge too much. He just walked straight to his seat, and even that fluke when Mark acknowledged it, no expression from Ronnie, so he looks to be really up for this.
14.
I suppose the £150,000 first prize will make you concentrate a bit.
That'll do it.
15.
I know a lot has been made about the new cue, but it's people that don't play the game of snooker. It's not like a golf club or a tennis racket, just changing it. It's an extension of your right arm, and as Ken Doherty was saying, he's played with the same cue for 25 years. Most professionals use one cue throughout most of their career. It is remarkable to pick a cue up and play like this. It really is.
Yes, we've actually been sent an email from one of Ronnie's friends who said a couple of years ago he popped round to his house and he said, come on, we'll have a frame of snooker.
23.
And Ronnie didn't actually have his own cue. Picked one out of the rack. Soft tip, big fat horrible cue, he said, and at 136 break first shot. I think you might call it talent.
30. $31.
I think one of the two reds that are next to the pink is available. Yeah, it's definitely available. The one to the left certainly pots.
38.
There you see it.
39.
I think the very nature of this tournament suits Ronnie O'Sullivan, Dennis. He can come and play his match. And not too long a journey to go back home every day when he's finished playing. He's not like he's at the venue at Sheffield and stays there for 17 days. Sometimes Ronnie can lose a little bit of focus, but coming in and playing his match and going home for a few days after his first round
45.
has definitely suited him. And then he's been coming in just playing the one match every day. And I really do think this Masters is a tournament that's set up for him.
Well, he is going for his fourth win.
$46.
Just starting to get a little bit more difficult now to go on and clinch this opening
53.
frame. But it's a good start.
$54.
So it's an early liftoff for the rocket. Mark Selby had the first chance, longish red, just cued across
61.
it. I think everyone thought he'd got away with it, but Ronnie picked that one out to the middle pocket after thinking for a minute and 20 seconds, and this is the result.
$62.
That was the miss, just cued across it slightly.
.68.
And that was the very difficult pot into the middle. Oh!
Ronnie O'Sullivan,
He's
68.
missed a sitter with his left hand. Okay. It's going to be very difficult. The difference is 56. But that red would have definitely finished this opening frame.
The other thing it does, Dennis, of course, is give Mark Selby a chance just to get more acclimatised to the conditions in the table and knock a few balls round. Even if he doesn't manage to win the frame, he's getting a little bit of practice, which at the start of the match can be very important.
8.
I think he possibly just eased up the fact that he knew Mark needed a snooker, but I've seen frames won from this position on many a occasion. Had to get a high valued colour. It's going towards the corner pocket. This could be the end of frame.
9.
Black must go in.
.16.
2 4-point snookers required at the moment. Green's out of commission, but the yellow and brown are pretty well placed. Black's the other good ball. Blue and pink not easy to get snookers behind.
Mark Selby, 16.
Is a snooker. If he comes off the side cushion, got to be careful he doesn't go in off the red, depending on the contact he makes with it. You always want the colour close to a cushion, you know, about 12 inches away from the cushion makes it easier to attempt the snookers.
Had a look to see if that would cut in the middle pocket, decided it wouldn't, so hit the safety shot.
Ronnie will be a bit reluctant to bring the green into play. He'll want to keep it on the cushion. He could play the red onto the green and back up behind the black, but he doesn't want to move the green too far. And he hasn't. A double kiss has kept the green safe.
Yes, clever little shot that, Dennis, wasn't it? Knew full well he was going to get the double kiss on it and kept it on the ball cushion.
You can see that movement in Mark Selby's head there. It's just a mannerism he has. And he may have found the gap here. He might be able to pot this red. Play it with a touch aside. Now that's put the brown in a much better position. for the possibility of getting in behind. Well, he's looked to see if he could cut it past the brown, but it's far too thin. Might be able to get close to a snooker here.
Yes, I think he's got a pretty good angle just to play the red up and down the table. I think he'll miss the green and drop the white in behind the brown. Just having a look there, Mark Selby, just to see if the green was in the way. And of course, then he's had a choice. He could play a screw shot and and get behind the brown, but it looks pretty much like if he does a plain ball, he could get up behind the brown. Well, I played a little drag shot, which is another alternative.
It's pretty straightforward to get out of this. There's not enough room to go around the back of the red. He's come off the back cushion here. It would be very unlucky to go around the back of that red, so it's an easy escape. If the red had been slightly further away from the cushion, could quite easily have sneaked around the back of it. This is where you sit in your seat as far as Ronnie's concerned, and you're thinking, I should have just rolled that red in and we'll be halfway through the second frame.
Absolutely. You're thinking to yourself, you know, you don't get paid for overtime, and you've give yourself some in the opening frame. But got to concentrate on every shot. As you quite rightly said, Dennis, frames have been won from this position before.
Of course, the other thing that it does, you've got yourself into stroke, you've made the 68 break, you're very fluent. Now you've got to play quite a bit of tactical play, so just for that few minutes you lose your rhythm. You've got to start all over again. That's a smile there.
Certainly wasn't how he played it. Just be careful here with your cueing, Ronnie. Make sure you don't touch the green or anything silly like that.
Just going back to after making a 68 break, then having to play quite a few safety shots. That's the difference between the great players, isn't it, John? They're able to do that. They can knock in a frame-winning break, and then they can have quite a long tactical battle as soon as they get the chance to produce the goods again.
Is he trying to stick on this and send the red up the table? That was always the problem. The red coming back and hitting the black. So this should be end of the first frame. Drop this one in. I'm sure there'll be a concession from Mark Selby.
One.
He won't bother about missing the pink.
Frame.
Mark Selby
Ronnie
stays in
O'Sullivan.
his seat. It's been a good start for the 3 times Masters champion. That earlier break of 68 paved the way for him, and he leads 1-0.
And here in the studio, Ken and Steve all settled in for the afternoon and indeed the evening, of course. When we look at the record between these two men, it is quite instructive, particularly over the last 13 months effectively, because it was at the UK Championship in 2007. They met in the semi-finals. It took a maximum break in the last frame for Ronnie to get over the line. And then, Ken, we were discussing earlier about the Welsh Open final. That went down to a final frame decider, and there wasn't needle, but there was a little bit of controversy afterwards, wasn't there?
There was. Well, Ronnie, I think, was 8-5 up, and Mark Selby came back to beat him 9-8 in that final. And Ronnie, I think, in his post-match interview, said that he just felt bored. Like I said, Mark was playing so slow and so methodical that he got bored, like, in the end, and that's the way he can play sometimes. And I think it's very important for Mark in this match that, you know, he can't go toe-to-toe with Ronnie. I don't think anybody can, but what he can do is play a real tight game, and it can only beat him through playing methodical, as he would say himself, but also, you know, playing the art of good safety and very conservative snooker. He's not going to beat Ronnie in his breaks or break building, but he just has to stick to his own game and not worry about what Ronnie does.
Ironically, of course, that's what Mark said. He actually said, well, I can't beat Ronnie at his own game, I've got to play it my way.
No, and in defence of Mark Selby, I mean, every player in the game looks methodical compared to Ronnie, so probably Ronnie has this problem with everybody looking like a cart horse compared to him. But actually, Mark Selby, when he gets around the table and gets in the zone, I think he's a very attractive player to watch. As a snooker player, fascinating how he goes about it, in a different way to Ronnie O'Sullivan. But, you know, we've sort of half nicknamed him the Hoover. He just sucks the balls up, and he really is fascinating to watch. He's a predator at the table.
He is indeed. OK, frame 2.
Well, not the best break-off from Mark Selby, that's for sure. Giving Ronnie a very good opening red to have a knock at here.
Well, if Mark Selby's known as the Hoover, John, I think Ronnie O'Sullivan would have to nickname him Super Dyson, because he doesn't take long at sweeping them up.
A little bit betwixt and between with his positional play here. Obviously not got a great angle on the blue, gone a little bit too far for that, and just off straight on the yellow. Well played. Some of these shots that he plays, he makes them just look so easy, Dennis, doesn't he? They just, you know, just off centre, punched it through, widened the angle, perfect.
Four.
And immediately up to the business end of the table, got himself onto the black. Not a good bunch to go into from
11.
the black, the way they're sitting there.
12.
Tried to develop a couple of reds, but it hasn't made a great deal of difference there. It's not a straightforward chance just yet. All depends on this next shot. He's got an angle on the black to play a cannon. He's just making his mind up to see which of the reds he should cannon onto. He's played a delicate little one. Has he held it, or has he gone just a bit too far?
19.
Just okay, yeah.
Well, wants to leave himself a half ball, and that's exactly what he's done. Has a choice here. He's got 3 reds on the left hand side that he can play for, or he could play into the pack, Dennis.
Well, knowing Ronnie, man, you never know with Ronnie. Most of the time he'd play the cannon straight onto the pink full ball. Other times he'll just decide to pick them off. Depends how he feels. Didn't catch the pink full ball. Needs a bit of good fortune.
25.
Just watch the white. It's caught the pink on the thin side. That was the reason he didn't spread them around the table.
And when you play that shot and you don't hit it right, Dennis, you think to yourself, why didn't I play on the 3 loose reds?
Well, this is the type of red he knocked in the opening frame and made 68 off it. That just shows you how tough the shots are.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, 25.
I'd forgotten about that Welsh final when Ronnie said at his interview afterwards that he was getting a bit bored. I think he was just a little bit out of order there, Ronnie, because Mark Selby made a remarkable comeback from 8-5 to beat him 9-8, and I think Ronnie should have just held his hand up and congratulated Mark on that occasion. But that's Ronnie, and that's why he's fascinating to listen to. That's why he's fascinating to watch. So maybe that's why there's a little bit of needle, maybe.
There's Hawkeye's view, and Ronnie's just asking Jan Verhaest just to have a look at where the ball's positioned, because he's going to play a thin shot here, so he wants Jan to know exactly where that cue ball is in case he doesn't quite make any contact.
Very good. Excellent shot.
Outstanding.
In the safety department, it doesn't get much better than that, John.
Shot of the match so far.
And this is going to be equally as difficult. Thin off this red. There's another cracker. It was nice to see a very generous round of applause for that. Well, for both players with their tactical play at the moment. The crowd are certainly enjoying this. Nice to see the big breaks, but it's nice to have a mixture. Well, look at that. There wasn't much sticking out there, was there?
And another excellent safety shot from O'Sullivan. There's the one before. Fabulous. Just to get that perfect contact. Right back on the line. You can see his cue there just coming away exactly where he wanted it to finish. And of course he's just played another one, Dennis, and this is a real tester for Mark Selby. Got to make sure he misses balls here.
Well, he didn't miss those balls as you mentioned, John, and he's left one to the middle pocket. So Ronnie O'Sullivan wins that tactical battle there.
One.
Delicate little cannon required here. If he plays the cannon on that red would do nicely. It would open things up. Could have been better.
6.
It's got one to the middle, but I think he tried to cannon the other red, the one to the right there. So he can pop this in the middle, but he's just running away from the potting angle on the black. Gonna have to use the other red, and that's difficult.
Can't honestly see how he can get on a colour here. I see absolutely punches the red in the centre pocket and plays a cannon on the other one and runs it through. Tricky shot.
That's what he's looking at, and it really is a tricky shot.
Not so sure percentage wise it's the right one. I know when you get a chance like this and you've cannoned into a few balls, you feel as if you deserve to be on something, but the way the match is at the moment, and he's keeping Mark Selby away from the table, I think he probably needs to keep that up. Be a bit more prudent to play the safety shot.
And that's exactly what he's going to do now. He's up to almost, well, just coming up to 1 minute and 20 seconds again of thinking time, and he's refusing the pot. I would have to agree with this choice.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, 6.
Do you think Ronnie's trying in this final, John?
I think he's very focused, and I think he's trying to stamp his authority on it very quickly. Mark Selby's been coming to the table in the safety exchange, and every time he's come here he's had a headache. There's always been something that's been in the way or a problem. And here's his latest headache, courtesy of Hawkeye.
Hawkeye would give anybody a headache. I know it gives our director a bit of a headache every now and again. But it's great to have it. You know, you can show what the player's looking at from the back end of the table. It really is very clever what they can do these days.
Clean pot, beautifully struck as ever. Cue ball's run a little bit further than he would have liked, but still expect him to knock this in the centre pocket.
Eight. Nine.
Well, Mark Selby has had precious little to go
16.
at in this final so far.
17.
Ronnie is not taking any undue risks, and when he's like this, he's so tough to play against.
Well, it's a pretty good recipe, Dennis, isn't it? Play
24.
the best safety shots you can play, and then when you get in, score as many points as you can. You might be dangerous to beat there.
Well, it's the way Steve Davis
25.
played throughout the 80s. He made enough to win the frame, and if he hadn't got anything on, you were playing off the baulk cushion every time. And the only way you can beat a player when they're playing like that is you've got to play a good safety shot
32.
to try and get that chance to get in.
$33.
Still got the perfect angle. He can play it back in between the pink and red if he wants here. Nice little stun shot with a bit of side. Just Just a slight misjudgment there. But he's already 71 ahead. There's only 67 on the table. And is he playing the double here? No, he's keeping it tight, John.
No, he's not playing the double. He's absolutely trying to keep it tight.
That last shot tells you a lot about how Ronnie O'Sullivan's thinking. Yeah, it looks as if this red pots, so that's definitely the end of second frame.
1.
And I don't think he'll be playing any exhibition shots here, John. He'll just be trying to,
8.
as we say, mop them up.
I think it's A game in operation today, Dennis.
9.
And it's A game focus as well.
16. 17. 17.
First careless shot from Ronnie, but he won't be too bothered about that. Mark Selby has had precious little to go at. Ronnie O'Sullivan takes the second frame. It was a break of 40 this time, but he leads 2-0.
First time I won was a £10 voucher I paid for my snooker, and I got a little trophy. First pet, never had a pet. My first ranking event was the UK Championships, but I'd won the Bensons as well. I remember my first day in senior school. That was pretty scary. The first thing I thought about was buying a car, but I didn't. My dad said, you know, get into property first. The car was a luxury, really. The first house I bought was my house that I live in now. First job I never had a job, have I? I've been playing snooker, haven't I? The first time I played on telly, I was probably playing my best snooker, and I was only 14, and I played in the Cockney Classic. And I remember it so well, because I still watch the video now and again. And I remember I broke off, a fella played a safety shot. This was like a one-frame challenge thing, and I knocked in 75. Should have made 100, didn't, and played safe, and then cleared up with 50-odd.
The Cockney Classic, I remember that. Steve Davis used to host it, and then I took over 1 year from him. Now, what? Something in his eye there. Just asking Jan Verhaas if he could see anything.
Do you want to go in the dressing room? Check that out.
Yeah, he might have to just pop out to the dressing room, and well, as Ronnie leaves the arena, we will hand you back to Hazel and the boys in the studio.
Yes. Unscheduled interruption for Ronnie. I'm sure he'll be fine. You were talking about the way the match has gone so far, and Ronnie clearly deciding to play it tight, play it cagey, and as you were actually saying to me, to try and keep him cold.
Yes, I mean, if you ever get your opponent in the situation Ronnie O'Sullivan has Mark Selby at the moment, you might as well try and keep them completely off the table. It was something I think that came in probably at the start of the game when it started to get a bit more serious on the television screens, the likes of Cliff Thorburn. I remember against Cliff, if he could keep you off the table for so long, and you really felt you were under pressure to even pot a ball at some stages. It's worth doing.
Yeah.
Did we see that a bit with Stephen Maguire last night? Because Stephen was under pressure every time he came to the table when he was beaten 6-1 in that semi-final against Ronnie last night.
Absolutely. I think, you know, the time Cole, like, you know, you need to get in and pot a few balls, and obviously Mark Selby, he hasn't really settled yet, and Ronnie is very aware of that, and that's why, you know, he didn't attempt the double in the last frame. He wanted to keep it tight, not give Mark any table time like he did in the first frame. And keep it as tight as possible, but when he gets in, he looks as fluent as ever.
How much is that due to respect, as much as anything, Steve?
It is respect, but Ronnie O'Sullivan knows how important it is to get off to a good start against Mark Selby. And Ronnie O'Sullivan, in the best possible sense, is a great bully on a snooker table. So he likes to bully, as probably lots of the top players do.
Yeah, a fantastic front runner too.
Yes.
Ominous in that respect, yeah. OK, back we go to Dennis and John.
He's so nice in the studio, Steve Davis. He's one of the biggest bullies we've ever played, John.
Yes, if he was 6-0 up, he wanted to be 9-0 up. And that's what the great champions have, that desire to keep you in your place.
Great Ray Reardon had a great knack of doing that. Walked around the table as if he owned the venue. And that's what you've got to do. Hawkeye just showing you that there's this fairly straightforward safety shot, but there's also that red there that he can pass the blue to take on. Now, this is a Mark Selby special, but he's had precious little table time. Well played. 1. Needs to pull up. Needs to pull up. He's only going to score 6 from it. Wanted to be on the red near the black spot and didn't quite get enough side on it. That's where he wanted to finish, where the other white is there.
Mark Selby 6.
Wembley Arena crowd have certainly enjoyed the start to this match. Maybe the Mark Selby fans not quite enjoying it so much, but they appreciate good snooker, and Mark Selby, every time he plays a good shot's getting an equally good response from this audience.
He does actually spend quite a bit of time practicing those thin shots for his safety, Ronnie. I've seen him on the practice table spending half an hour now and again just trying to hit the balls as thin as possible, so it is something you can practice, and he does.
Well, Mark Selby obviously hasn't been practicing as much as Ronnie, because
Ronnie O'Sullivan 4.
I think he's okay though. It's costing him 4 points, but is there a possible plant on? Oh, that was close. No plant on, so that's the 2 that I thought might be a plant, but Ronnie having it replaced.
Quite a big area down there, green and brown again, so Ronnie will play the safety shot off the side of the pack, maybe with a little bit of side down the table, somewhere behind the brown. As I say, the green is also there, so it is a big target, this.
That's a possibility of swinging around the angles with lots of side. He's played it off 2 cushions, but
yes, he actually got too much side on that one, I think. But both players very wary of promoting a red towards the corner pocket. They know every time they play a safety shot. You can see Mark Selby looking at the pack there. He's just making sure that nothing is going to come out and go towards the corner pocket and leave an opportunity.
Might be looking at a, believe it or not, a 4-ball plant. And it, let's have a look. It's going to the right of the pocket. This could come off because he will squeeze it. Let's have a look. See, squeeze the red into the pocket. Well picked out. Look at the cue ball.
1.
Well, good in one way, important another, Dennis, isn't it? If you think that shot's on, why have you not played wholeheartedly for the brown the other side? Good shot. I know he's done fantastically well to pick it out. Surely there was an argument for playing with a little bit of side there and making sure that you were going to be on the brown.
I'll tell you what, that was a delicate little shot he played onto the brown. It was so easy to push that. He was so close to the brown. See, the red was going to the right side of the pocket. He hits it on the left side and it squeezes it into the middle of the pocket. He's looking to see if he can get to the red behind the black spot. But he was very close to this here, and that was very delicately played. So easy to push that, John.
Yeah, it was really well played. He certainly got Ronnie in a spot of bother. Of that there's no doubt.
Yeah, to try and land on the red that I mentioned behind the black spot, he'd have to go a couple of times across the table, and if he doesn't judge it correctly, he's going to leave a pot on. The blue's slightly in the way. Wasn't a bad effort. Is it going to reach?
Foul.
Can he pick the same line out again, though, with a little bit more pace?
Well, Mark's coming to the table, but you can bet your bottom dollar Ronnie's going back behind the brown here. Very good attempt that was. I'm sure it'll be the same shot.
That's the sort of line he was going. Can he judge it this time?
Foul and a miss. Mark Selby 4.
Now, has it gone far enough for Mark to cut this back into the left corner?
Well, I think if there's any chance of this being potted, Mark will take it on, because at some point you think Ronnie will get that escape right, Dennis, and you might end up with no pot at all. So if you've got this one, take it on.
One.
Very well played. Perfect position on the blue. Now, Mark, you've got to go to work.
I'm not sure if the pink's
6.
available into the left corner. The red next to it would be blocking it. Not easy to get on the black from that situation.
Yes, one of those typical chances you get, Dennis, when you're just cold into a match, isn't it? And there always seems to be balls blocking each other, and you never seem to get a really good chance in front of you when you're trying to fight your way back into a match. And I know it's only 2-0 at the moment, but it's a very important part of it.
Oh, he's got a bit of an angle here. Just wondering if he can develop the black.
7.
Might be able to.
Yes, that was well sorted out.
And that's the one spot that he could just get through to the potting angle. Well picked out.
$14.
The two reds. Possible plant. He's got the easy red to go back for the blue, but
15.
cannon hasn't worked out as he intended. And it looks as if he's going to cannon the red when potting this blue, so this could go slightly wrong. He'll want to develop the red when he cannons it. And he's okay. Well played.
20.
Better shot than it looked, that one. Amount of times you take your eye off that, looking at the red instead of the blue. And this has developed from a couple of shots ago looking a little bit tricky. It's not a bad chance at all. And all this opportunity has come from Mark Selby spotting that 4-ball plant, Dennis. Well sorted out that was.
Scheduled 8 frames in this afternoon session and a possible further 10 this evening. I think the black is only available
24.
into one corner pocket, so he might not necessarily be on this red to get onto it. If it goes past the red into the right corner, that'll be a bonus. You can see he's almost straight on that, so he's going to have to concentrate on the pink here.
Yes, little soft stun there from the bottom red into the one onto its left, and leave the pink available into the middle pocket.
$25.
Well, didn't have to play the cannon there. Still perfectly all right.
$31. $32.
That certainly helps the situation now. You'll still be able to pot the red. Black will go as close to its own spot in a direct line behind it because all the other spots are occupied. But it doesn't interfere with this.
39.
I think it's important for
40.
Mark to win this frame with one visit, John.
Absolutely, Dennis. Not only for his own confidence, but to show his opponent that he's in for a match today. And this has been a fabulous response from Mark Selby, as the boys mentioned in the studio. Kept cold.
45.
Hasn't seen a lot of table. So this is very good.
$46.
He's not only a very good tactical player, Mark Selby,
53.
as far as centuries goes. He's made just over 50 centuries in the last 2 seasons.
54.
Yes, we talk about players like Joe Perry and Alistair Carter being improvers. Nobody's improved more than Mark Selby. Cue action's far better than it used to be. It's much more compact.
59.
Puts the tip up to the white now, you can see. Used to cue up miles behind the cue ball and have a very long and flailing cue action, but not now. It's very good. There's a lot less can go wrong.
$67. $68. $75. $76.
Playing an exhibition type shot, get the pink back on the spot. Easy to get to the last red from the blue, but he wanted the pink back on his spot for some reason.
82.
Well, he is called the Hoover. He's just tidying up a bit, Dennis.
Didn't get on the red though as he intended. It would have been easier from the blue to get on this red. So no century
82.
break.
And a frame.
But what a magnificent response from Mark Selby. He was kept out for the first 2 frames, and Vicky, his girlfriend, was smiling away there. That break of 82 gets him back. He's just 1 behind. And it was all done there with a shot that he picked out, a 4-ball plant. You don't often see those. And he had to make it. As you can see, it wasn't in a direct line with the pocket. It was going to the right of the pocket. But the way he played the shot, he squeezed it and potted it right into the center of the pocket. And we'll just show you the outcome of this plant. Okay, he didn't drop on the brown to pot it, but he tucked up in behind it, and that was the shot that gave him this frame.
Steve, Ken, I know that it's early in this match, but we talked about Ronnie O'Sullivan being such a tremendous front runner. How important from Selby's perspective just to let him know that he's there?
Well, so important, apart from the fact that if he doesn't win that frame, he's 3-0 behind.
Indeed, yeah.
But just the fact of the statement that you know, you can play a bit, and if you can play a bit from behind as well, I think it tells your opponent that you haven't got any fear of him.
Ken, observations about the way that Selby went about making that break, especially with that plant that we saw?
I think it was well spotted, and I think he always looks at the pack, and that probably comes from his experience playing as a pool player. I mean, he was a world champion pool player, so he's always looking at the pack. Anytime I've played him, he's always looking into the pack, like looking for possible plants, and he picked that out very, very well. But I think the most important thing about that is that he's up and running, and he's got a frame on the board, and you never really settle down. John Virgo always says it in commentary, you never really settle down in a match until you've got that first frame on the board. He's made a stand, and to Ronnie, saying that, look, I'm here, I'm going to battle for this. This is my tournament. I'm defending my trophy, and I'm going to make it as hard as possible for you.
You boys both know what it's like to play in the final of this Masters tournament. It's one of the biggest venues on the circuit. How does it differ in terms of the atmosphere that you experience here?
Well, I think if you're going to be overawed by a crowd, this is possibly the one you will be overawed by. Even more so sometimes in the World Championship. But both these players are great match players. You wouldn't expect the standard of play they played this week for them to be overawed. But it can happen at any time. We saw Steve Maguire in his semi-final match seem to crumble in that respect. But I think we're in for a cracking match, and you can't guarantee what's going to happen. But it could be close.
Yep. And this is the last one before their mid-session interval.
Yes, it could be close, and how close will Ronnie O'Sullivan get to this long pot? Probably the only thing with the new cue, John, has been some of his long pots at times haven't been going in.
Yeah, he's down to about 99%, I think, Dennis, from 100. But no, you're right. It's the thing, I think, with the new cue that you need to get more used to than anything, because, as I say, it's all pieces of timber are different, and some cues throw off and some stay straight, so you have to get used to that. There doesn't seem to be a problem at the moment for Ronnie. And he's had 2 break-offs in this match, Mark Selby, already, and both of them have been pretty poor by his standards.
That last shot just shows you how fast this cloth's playing, because that looked as if it was perfect and was going to pull up and be on a ball colour.
Ronnie O'Sullivan 1.
no real problem for Mark Selby. Come off the right side of the table and into the bunch. He won't leave anything. Touching ball declared by referee Jan Verhaas. Helps Ronnie. Can just play away off down the table and make sure that he hides that red to the right of the blue. He's looking at behind the yellow, but you'd think behind the green would be better, John.
It's one of those situations, Dennis, where there's both sides of the pack are sticking out and one red on the left and one near the blue. Difficult to put the cue ball in any position in the balk area where you're not going to have an escape route.
He's got to get it tight on the cushion though, whether he goes behind yellow or green. Just a fraction out there. He hasn't quite covered things. You can just show you Mark's 2 break-off shots. That was frame 2, left that red. And that was frame 4, left the similar pot. He really is paying attention, this Hawkeye, John. Can't really take the pot on because it's the wrong angle. He'd be going towards the red and black, so just the safety. Mid-session interval coming up after this frame.
Very good shot. Beautifully played. A little bit of swerve on that with run inside. Referee Jan Verhaas is using his eagle eye there, but down the table just to see what Mark had left, but he'd probably just come off the side cushion and drop into the pack again.
Needs to play it with lots of side because the brown's in the natural path. Watch the white spin now. He hasn't hit it hard enough, has he? Has he? He hasn't.
And a miss. Ronnie O'Sullivan 4.
It's just when you play it with lots of side, it's not quite as easy to judge the pace. You've got to hit it a little bit softer because the side spins off the cushion. But well, Ronnie was going to play a safety shot. He was about to get the rest out there, but better off putting him back in, because if he gets a touching ball, then he's got a straight escape. But needing lots of right hand side on the white to spin it off the cushion.
Sorry? I think you could, Mark, to be honest. Yeah. Do you want to bring it up for us? That way.
Jan Verhaas says, do you want me to bring it up for you? They've got a monitor that they can check that's where it was. Let's have a look where it is now. That's pretty good.
I think that's about right. Yeah. Okay, Ronnie?
That's the monitor that they're looking at. And that's the angle he's got to make. As you can see, he'd have to spin it off the side cushion with the right hand side. Well, he's going to play the same shot again. He thought he might be able to snick the reds past the pink. Better pace this time.
Pretty good innovation being able to do that, Dennis, isn't it? A few seasons ago we couldn't use video evidence. And the fact that you can just look at a monitor like that and put the cue ball back in exactly the correct place, just pure common sense.
Took a while coming, but we got there in the end with it. Mind you, not all sports use video evidence. football. They've declined from using it.
They'll get round to it. I'm sure they will. Too many big decisions nowadays.
Well, where's the white going to finish? He's going to cannon the other red. How's your luck? I mean, that is quite incredible. The worst possible place on the table. You couldn't do that again if you tried for 10 years.
And we might be here for a while, Dennis, because this is he's obviously going to call a ball colour, probably the green.
Yellow ball.
He's calling the yellow, and this will take some escape.
Foul and a miss. Mark Selby 1, Ronnie O'Sullivan 4.
Purely a preference when the player is in that position, which ball colour he'd like to hit.
Ronnie in the past has been known to not take the miss, but you'd think he'd have this put back because he could get quite a few points off it. But there's a number of times where he feels if the player's in too difficult a position, he just carries on playing. But yeah, he's definitely got to have this replaced. You see, the other choice that he has, the yellow's coming off 1, 2, 3 cushions. He could come off 2 cushions, play for the green, because the red's not cuttable into the middle pocket. It's probably slightly easier to go off that angle for the green, but he's now playing the brown, so he can change his mind.
Foul. No miss.
No miss this time. He's knocked the red over the pocket, and Ronnie, if he can't hold for the blue, can get through for the black. It's a good chance.
That's a big mistake, isn't it? I thought of the 3 ball colours, the one they wouldn't be going for was the brown, for that reason that you might be coming close to the red. But that's a bad misjudgment there from Mark Selby. Unlucky, of course, to hit it like that thin and leave it over the pocket, but well, these decisions can cost you frames and matches.
One.
It's a decent chance now for Ronnie, but it has to be said Mark Selby, when he potted his opening red, was very unfortunate to finish in the position that he did.
Yes, Dennis, those situations really hurt. You know how good O'Sullivan is anyway.
8.
The last thing you need against him is a bad run of the balls. Good pot from Mark Selby. You don't really know where the cue ball is going to be, but to finish there, very unfortunate.
16. 17.
It's been a terrific start to this final. We know both players are queuing well. Ronnie had 24. A break of 68 in the opening frame. Mark Selby an 82 in the previous frame.
25.
We've had some very, very good tactical play. It's shaping up very nicely. When you play over a few sessions, you play in little mini sessions, the 4 frames. The target is to try and win them 3-1.
What, is 4-0 no good?
You try 3-1, 4-0 is a bonus.
Settle down, please.
But with the standard of these players, you don't often see many 4-0s.
33.
2 reds nearest to the cue ball will be the next target. Nice little soft stun off the cushion. And the thing with Ronnie is we've running out of superlatives, but he scores so quickly, Dennis, doesn't he? You're sitting in the chair, and he only seems to have been there for a couple of minutes, and you look at the scoreboard, and you're 50 behind in no time.
Just come up a bit short this time. Slight change of plan. Doesn't want to kiss the blue here.
41.
He's okay. There you can see Hawkeye showing you. Got the angle on the blue. So no problem. We've already beat the centuries record that was held 2007. There was
46.
26. We've already had 27 this year.
47.
Yes, and Ronnie O'Sullivan as an individual has surpassed the record. I think Stephen Hendry had 41 centuries here over the years playing in the Masters, and Ronnie's on 42 now, I believe.
That's quite incredible, isn't it, really, when you think about it?
54. $55.
It just looks so easy.
$62.
He's second only to Stephen Hendry in centuries made. He's made 557. Stephen Hendry is up at 700 and just over.
63.
But if this cannon works out, good chance of a century here.
$70.
Didn't catch the red he intended, but he still got the long one up past the blue.
71.
Doesn't have to move anything here. As he pots one red, it clears the path for another. This one in the middle
78.
will open up one for the left corner. And if he pots
79.
the one above the pink, it will open up the one next to the pink. He's already made 6 centuries at the Masters this year. And I hate to say it one
86.
more time, but all with a brand new cue he'd only played with for a couple of hours.
87. $94. $95.
Well, Mark Selby did all he could do last frame to get himself back in the match, show Ronnie O'Sullivan that he was involved. But there's a century from Ronnie O'Sullivan, just to say, right back at you. Fabulous stuff.
He'll not bother about missing the yellow. It's been a very high standard indeed. Mark Selby's played his part. He's had an 82 break, but you can't take it away from Ronnie O'Sullivan. That was a superb century break, and he goes to the mid-session interval leading 3 frames to 1.